Hi everyone, I'm Shannon. I do product development for InsightPRM and MoveMyBiz.com. Welcome to our webinar, Top Sales Leaders' Secrets to Success. Your host, Larry Dillon, is the founder and CEO of Wendover Corporation, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. Larry has consulted thousands of companies in the U.S., Canada, England, Scotland, and Ireland to help them drive sales revenue through smarter prospect relationship management. Today he's going to talk about some of the best sales practices he's seen. And this is completely interactive, so feel free to ask any questions that you may have of Larry. Okay, here's Larry.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, I appreciate you guys showing up today. We've got a lot to cover. And in preparing for this, I was looking back on our 25th year anniversary for Wendover, which is now morphed into MoveMyBiz.com and InsightPRM. I look back to my experience, which basically got started in 1968. I was 10 years old, and I was shining shoes for 15 cents a shine. And I learned very quickly that, excuse me, all buyers are not the same, because some people would hand me a quarter and tell me to keep the change. Other folks would hand me a quarter. A little 10-year-old boy hand me the quarter and ask for a dime back. And then every now and then there was a guy that came in with the shiniest shoes you ever saw, and he would actually extract a dollar bill and give that to me. And I learned very quickly at the ripe old age of 10 that all buyers are not the same. And in fact, in a lot of the research has found that the best managers actually figure out what each of the people that work for them need and treats them differently. And I think that the same is true for sales, is all buyers are not the same. And I think too often we look at buyers as a monolithic group of folks. It was funny, the other day we were looking at a marketing tool that we could use for our company. So I reached out to the company and I spoke to, I guess it was an inside salesperson, and they said to me, asked me a few questions, and I said, well, could I speak to a salesperson? And they said, well, you have to go online first and fill out a form, and then we'll have a salesperson contact you. Now, mind you, this was for software that's probably going to cost about $20,000 to $40,000. I said, well, it's really not going to be convenient for me. I'd really just like to have a salesperson call me. And the inside salesperson said, well, I can't transfer you to a salesperson unless you fill out the form. I thought that was pretty interesting, that was their method of engaging. So anyway, we decided to go elsewhere. Listen, I've been doing this at Wendover for 25 years. We've had the pleasure of working with 10,000 different companies, everything from mom and pops. We've helped companies that are doing $500,000 a year get to $5 million. We've worked with AT&T, IBM, Dell, and everything in between. And basically what I've seen from working with all of these companies is three different personality types, or three different types of businesses. The victims. These are the folks that whenever they don't meet goal, or if they have a problem, it's always someone else's fault. Then I have my survivors, which are, if the victims are also not the ones that are sort of forward thinking. The victims are always sort of 5, 10, 15 years in the past. My survivors, some of those are very, very successful, companies, 10, 100 million, even billion-dollar companies, but they don't have the growth rate of what I call my rock stars. So if the victims are 5 or 10 years behind the times, the survivors are sort of maybe 6 months to a year or two behind the times. And then I have my rock stars. And out of the 10,000 companies that we've worked with, there's probably 200 companies that fit into this category. And some of these have gone on to be some of the most successful companies on the planet that we've been working with 25 years ago, when they were very much smaller companies. But what I observed is that the rock stars behaved differently. And one of the things that they looked at differently was they didn't want to be behind the times. They were always ahead of the curve. They were always, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ahead of the competition. So the idea behind today is, what are these rock stars doing that's differently? I'm not going to talk about the things that everybody's doing that's the same. I'm going to talk to you about some different behavior. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. We're going to talk about storytelling and lead management and different concepts. I apologize for my voice. I think I'm coming down with something. So, excuse me. So anyway, these are my humble observations of the most successful companies that I've observed and what they're doing differently. So they're kind of loosely connected, but what they are the 5 sort of different traits or different things that the rock stars are doing that I think has catapulted them to their success. And one of the things that's interesting about dealing with the rock stars, they're not interested in increasing sales necessarily. Of course, that's one of their goals. But their whole, the way they look at it, which I can tell you is different, is they don't want to just get the deal. Their goal is to make the competition irrelevant. They literally want to walk into the situation and set the table so that when it comes time for the buyer to buy, that A, they have a better relationship, a longer relationship than their competitors, and they've told a story that basically makes the competition irrelevant. So they're not just interested in closing the deal. They want to close the deal and get paid more money for their service because they believe that they're delivering a better service than the competition. So, as we said, this is interactive. I'd like to start off by, there's a little questions bar there, and I'm going to ask you guys a question, which is, what are your biggest challenges? What are the challenges that you guys are facing today in sales and marketing your business? So if you could just fill that in the question bar. So somebody said getting leads, qualifying, finding qualified opportunities. Here's a good one, getting people to answer the phone. This is a good one. Motivating the sales folks. There's a couple people. Overcoming objections. Some people are typing in, where's the question bar? Right where you're typing, where's the question bar is where you can type in your answer. Getting through to the decision maker. Standing apart from the competition, right? So that's one of the things that the rock stars talk about, is standing apart from the competition. Same thing, getting in touch with people. Some people are talking about getting voicemails all the time. So yeah, these are many of the challenges that we see in the marketplace. Are there any new technologies or any changes that you guys have made in the last changes that you guys have made that have been a benefit for you? So anyway, if you guys could talk about some of the changes that you guys have made that you're seeing some traction in, maybe in the last year or two. So invest in marketing other than call. Some other folks are talking about investing in inside sales, which, by the way, in inside sales, we do a business survey each year. One of the discriminating factors between the highest performers and the middle performers is that the highest performers outspend the middle performers almost 3 or 4 to 1 on inside sales, which is a difficult job to fill. Believe me, we're in the inside sales business. Basically, everyone, all 100 employees that work for me are in inside sales, and it's a tough job to fill. People are talking about power dialing phone systems. That's a good thing. Personalized letters, always a good idea. And utilizing common connections, that's a good one. We're going to talk about that a little later on here. So a lot of the things that that we're seeing, we're obviously talking to some folks here that are looking to deploy the latest technology to get a competitive advantage. I mean, that's why you guys are taking time out of your busy day today, is to get a competitive advantage. And I think that that's one of the keys to success. So we'll listen to this. Huh. That's a nice personal touch. So, sales leaders to success. Again, these are my humble observation of the most successful companies that we work with. So, just a little bit about MoveMyBiz.com and InsightPRM. InsightPRM is basically, we're identifying about 150,000 relocations, and MoveMyBiz.com is a free website to engage those folks. So anyway, let's get started. LinkedIn, as we all know, hit over 200 million current users. And one of the things that we've seen with our successful customers doing that we actually did is you look back, and if you say to yourself, how many companies have you done business with over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years? For our customers, that typically is going to be range from thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands for some of our customers. That's millions of companies you've done business with. Now, with our business at that 10,000 mark, what we did is we hired an intern to basically go through everybody that we've ever done business with. It was kind of a long project. It took a couple people about a month to do this, and they reached out. I gave them my login. They reached out to everybody we've ever done business with to have them join our LinkedIn network. And basically, in that month's period of time, I increased the number of folks I was connected to in LinkedIn by 10 times. Money well spent. Because if you think about it, I mean, out of, let's say you've done business with 10,000 companies over the last 20 or 30 years, how many of them are really happy with your service? Most of my clients tell me that's probably in the 60, 70, 80, 90% range of happy customers. But, you know, let's say you sell phone systems. I see there's a lot of folks in the leasing and banking industry on with us today. You know, maybe you did a commercial loan for these companies 10 years ago that, you know, was paid off 5 years ago. And literally, it's easy for them to forget about you. But with LinkedIn, you can keep in touch with them. So the setup for LinkedIn is, I think the first stage is to get as many connections as possible. And why not go through your customer base and go through that exercise of getting as many connections as you possibly can. As I said, for most of our customers, that amounts to thousands of prospects in a particular market or a particular region or across the country. So I often get asked, when you generate the leads, Larry, what contact do you get? Well, listen, everybody has a different approach to what contact they want. Some people want, the gatekeeper, the influencers, the decision maker, the ultimate decision maker. I like to go in at the C-level. I like to go in and talk to the technology person, the telecom manager, the CFO. I think it's important for you to decide. You guys either buy leads, it could be from Wendover or from a number of different sources. But I think that you know who the best prospect is for you. And I say these days, with the power of LinkedIn, and let's say you've got your LinkedIn base up to, if you're a particular salesperson or your individual salespeople should have, a LinkedIn number of anywhere from 600 to a couple thousand in that particular market, which is pretty much going to connect you with almost every business in some way. I would say never settle for the contact that you're given. Why not figure out who the contact you'd like to be contacting, and then use LinkedIn to find out who you've got a connection with. We recently got a lead from a regional bank that went to movemybiz.com and said, this is, Joe so-and-so, manager for XYZ Bank. Please give me a call. I'm very interested in the group of folks on your website. And instead of immediately, in the old days, I would just immediately call that prospect. What I did instead is I went to LinkedIn and I put in the name of the bank, and lo and behold, a really dear friend of mine is connected with the president of that bank. So instead of calling the manager, what I did was I contacted my friend Andy, and I said, Andy says on LinkedIn that you know so-and-so, president of this bank. He said, absolutely. Our beach houses are right next to each other. I said, why do you ask? I said, well, they've reached out to me. He said, he's a really good friend of mine. Let me make an introduction. You'll get right into the top. So instead of going in at the manager level, I actually got brought in at the level of the president of this regional bank, which obviously put us in a much better position to engage with that customer. So there are lots of ways that you can use LinkedIn, but it does require research the prospect first. My rock stars will tell you their goal in life is to develop a relationship well before anyone else and get in before the RFP. And that's one of the things that distinguishes the rock stars from the victims and the survivors. The victims and survivors want leads that are going to buy this quarter. The rock stars want 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years. And their goal is to get in before the RFP, develop a relationship so the customer, before they even put the RFP together, has decided to use the rock star as the provider at whatever the price is, because they've delivered some consulting, they've assisted the customer, and this is the ultimate play. And I'm going to ask if you've ever had yourself in this situation where the prospect just put in yes on the question bar, where the prospect asked you to write the proposal and said, "You don't worry, Larry, you're going to get the deal. I just have to do this as a formality. And by the way, could you give me the name of a couple of other companies?" This was when I was in the moving business. The screen is lighting up with yeses. Who else should I call to give a proposal? But don't worry, Larry, you have the deal. And of course, when they asked me who I would call, I would ask my best friends that were competitors, especially when I was in the furniture installation and asset management business. It was pretty funny. I call it being the chump. So if you're in that situation, the only way to get around that is if you can get a higher level contacts. But if you call that contact first, you can't really go around them. So do the research. It's, as you know, a lot of you said earlier on that getting in touch with the prospect was the hardest thing. A lot of you complained about voicemail. How do we get around voicemail? Best way to do that is don't take, people pay us a lot of money for our leads. We do the best job to get multiple contacts. Some of our leads, we have 3 contacts. Don't use the contacts I give you or anyone else gives you. Use LinkedIn. Don't be the chump. We talked about the decision maker. Many of you have got thousands of businesses you've done business with. Why not see if you've got a connection with the decision maker? Also, if you know someone else in the company, let's say you don't know the decision maker, but let's say you know another manager or even a staffer at the company. I recently found out that my cousin, we all have lots and lots of cousins, and I recently found out that we were looking to do business with a Fortune 500 software company, and I recently found out that my cousin is actually the assistant to the CEO of the company. So instead of, after being requested to respond, from a web request, let me take a step backwards. When somebody fills out a form on a website, on your website or a lead gen website, you got to assume that you're one of many people in a crowd. So the best way to figure out what the situation is, find someone within the company. In my case, it was my cousin. I found out what was going on and how many other companies were involved. I did have to deal with the decision maker that was listed there, but I got a lot of intel before I actually made first contact. Also, if you have a contact, and it could be a staffer, it could be a receptionist maybe that you've got a connection with, or a manager, or somebody even in a different department, sometimes they can give you texture to what's going on at that company that otherwise you wouldn't have. So this is just, I think, being in the lead business and such, a lot of focus on what's the best contact. Use LinkedIn before you ever talk to anybody, even if it looks like, the most perfect lead in the world. So let's switch gears and let's talk about how our top performers dealing with opportunity management. Talk about, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a vice president of a $7 billion local company here in Philadelphia, and he talks about, even with their extremely successful company, he calls it the failure to commercialize on opportunity. At this point, I'm going to launch a poll, and I'm going to ask you guys to participate. And this one, what I want you to do is to grade the quality of the service that you provide to your customers. And 5 would be excellent, 1 would be not so good. How would you grade the quality of the service that you provide to your customers? 5 is excellent, 1 not so good, 3 is average. We're at about 47%. Come on, we can do better. Got 50%, 60, 70, just a few more. 80%, we're doing a good job. Quality of the service that you provide to your customers. Okay, just a few more. Alrighty. So let's close the poll. And can you guys see the poll? I just want to make sure. So, okay, you should be able to see the poll now. Can everyone see the poll? Ellen, if you could let me know that you guys can see the poll. So it says you guys are seeing the poll. So 54% gave an excellent, 36% gave 4. So we've been doing this survey for a number of years, and this is really consistent with what we've seen. So now I'm going to launch another poll. This is always interesting. Rate your ability to consistently qualify leads and turn those into appointments. Rate your ability to qualify leads and turn them into appointments on a consistent basis. Quality, the ability to convert leads into appointments. Come on, let's do it. Let's work as a team. It's our 25th year anniversary. I can't believe it. All this from shining shoes at Ralph's Barber Shop. It's crazy. Anybody else shine shoes as a kid? Just put shoe if you shine shoes as a kid. Probably one of the oldest people on. I turned 55 this month. Old man. All right, great. So I'm going to close the poll. And now I'm going to share the results. So you can see that 48, 30, so you've got 26, sort of below average, 48% sort of in the middle. So very different than the quality of the service. So this is common, very common. In fact, this year, 2013, the average score, we asked them to grade it on a scale of 1 to 100. The average score was 92. Ability to convert leads, the average score was about a 59, which is very consistent with what we've got here in our little poll. And this is, sort of what I call the, we've got tremendous quality of service that we're delivering to our customers, yet we're not able to get on the stage. And I think that that's a huge problem. So we've got a great service, and I often hear from folks, I have no problem closing a deal. My problem is just getting on the stage. If I can get on the stage, I can close the deal. So this is a common thing. So we don't have a problem with our service. It's just getting on the stage. So what are the rock stars doing to get on the stage? So look at this. What happened to all your leads? Just so you guys don't feel alone. Yankee Group said that 40 to 80% of leads are either dropped or mishandled. Now, why this happens, I've been in this business now for 25 years. There is no simple solution. Why? Because there's 20 non-intuitive reasons why a lead gets dropped or why lead management suffers. One of the non-intuitive reasons is if your sales team or salesperson is getting married, going through a divorce, or has some sort of personal issue, A, they won't tell you, and B, they're not going to work the leads. We've actually had sales reps tell us that, hey, I can't work the leads for the next couple of months because I'm building a new house. So there's lots of reasons that just don't make any sense until you pick them apart that particular leads might get dropped. Another thing is that as a salesperson progresses through their career, maybe when they started they were really aggressive and went after leads and did a great job. And then as they got more established, they stopped working leads. But let me ask you, just say yes or no. When a salesperson gets to the point where they've got plenty of ongoing business, does the salesperson go to the sales manager and say, hey, boss, don't send me any more leads. I'm fine. Yes or no? Once they get to the point in their career Do they ask to stop being given leads? Yep, most of the people are saying no. So we estimate it's a 40% lost top line revenue. Quick math would be if you think into your head what your gross sales were if you're a salesperson, or what your gross revenue was as a sales manager or business owner, what percentage of that, let's say you're a $10 million company, what percentage of that is referrals, repeat business? In other words, you don't need leads to get that business. And what percentage is from actually marketing, lead gen, networking? Typical response would be 60% is from repeat business, and 40% we actually worked for. So if 50% of the leads are only being utilized, and that generated $4 million worth of business in our $10 million example, that means $4 million was lost. So that means that $10 million successful company really is a $14 million company, but they just missed out on $4 million worth of business. Or if you're a $100 million company, that could be $40 million. I know it sounds extraordinary. Quick story, David Perry was one of my consultants working for us in London. A technology company was a customer, came to David with an offer he couldn't refuse. So David approached me, he said, hey, listen, they're offering me a ton of money. They like the Wendover way. They want me to implement our strategies and concepts within their company. I told David he had to go for it. He took that company, which was a successful $20 million technology company, changed the sales team around a little bit, found out who the good folks were and who the bad folks were. No new products, no acquisitions, took them from 20 million to 60 million in 1 year. So they were actually not a successful $20 million company. They were actually a very unsuccessful $60 million company because they were losing $40 million a year. I know it sounds like an anomaly, but one of the VCs that brought David into the company brought him into another technology company and took that $60 million company, and in 18 months took them to $180 million. So it's worth taking a peek at this, and it does require some resources and some different thinking, but the idea is the rock stars recognize that, you know, the first step to correcting a problem is realizing that you have a problem. So the rock stars are bound and determined, and they will spend the resources and take the time that it takes to capture every bit of business that comes in the door, much like David Perry. So what's going on right now? There's a lot of research out. This is from the Harvard Business Review called The End of Solution Selling. I'll email everybody a link to this article. I think it's a must-read for anybody in sales, sales management, or business owner. And Harvard Business Review is not the only one that's saying that prospects have completed 60% of a typical purchasing decision before they've even talked to you. The article goes on to say that it's reducing salespeople to just bidders. This is a common thing that I hear. However, and some of the figures like Selling Power and MIT have got that 60%. Booz Allen has got it at 80%. The point is that if you wait until they come to you, you may be relegated to what I call, those situations where I feel like I'm a bidding monkey. Hi, Larry, we're interested in your program. We're talking to you and 5 of your competitors. We'd like you to participate in a bidders meeting. I don't want to do that. I can't consult. I'm not a bidder. So that is one of the realities. That's one of the pluses and minuses today with the internet. A lot of folks are saying it's commoditizing their business. So rock stars do not sell a commodity. They refuse to. So they're going to do some things different. So let's talk about leads for a second, and what this is also going to tie into some of the problems, and then we're going to talk about the solutions in a second. So leads are like snowflakes. They're all different. Remember back to when I was shining shoes, right? I had 3 different types of buyers. Somebody who gave me a quarter and asked for change, somebody who gave me a quarter and told me to keep the change, and then other buyers with the shiniest shoes who would extract $1 and give that to me. Your buyers are all, it's the same thing. They're all different. In a recent survey, and there's lots of research that triangulates into the same figures, 25% of leads are what they call sales ready, and 50% require further nurturing, and 25% are disqualified. So, but you can see that the lion's share require further nurturing. So most of the leads, so if we eliminate these, we're looking at these leads, 60 to 70% of the qualified opportunities don't want you to sell them. Let me ask you guys, how many of you have been interested in maybe just looking at a new model of automobile? Maybe you're looking at the new Corvette, or I don't know, you want to go look at the new SUVs or pickup trucks, and you walk into the dealership, you're not really interested in buying right now, you're probably going to buy in 3 or 4 months. What happens when you walk into that car dealership when you just want to do some tire kicking? What happens when you walk in that door? There you go. Salesperson attacks you, right? They launch right at you, and how does it make you feel as a buyer? It doesn't make you feel good. You just want to look around. You're going to buy. You know, you might buy 2, 3, 4 months from now, but you just want to take a look. Maybe it's a Saturday afternoon and you're just shopping. And I think that from working with, so many different sales organizations, that I would tell you that 95, 96, 97% of the sales organizations that I work with take the approach of the bull in the china shop, right? Me, sales rep, you buyer, I want to sell you something. Buy, me, right? So, it cracks me up. People get our leads and they'll call us back like a few days later and say, these leads are unqualified. And I'm like, well, what was your approach? We're like, we know you're moving. We want to give you a bid. And it's the old one and done, the bull in the china shop approach. It does work. Is there a more effective way? Yes, there is. And what are the rock stars doing? They're lead nurturing. They're actually nurturing the leads and have a process. And lead nurturing has been around, the concept of lead nurturing has been around, I don't know, probably 10 years or so, 15 years. The rock stars that I deal with have been doing it for 25 years. Before they could spell lead nurturing, they were nurturing leads. They understood that most of the best opportunity were the tire kickers, the people who weren't yet ready to get a quote or a bid, but had some interest in kind of understanding the process. Most of the sales organizations that I've seen will ignore those leads, disqualify those leads, literally built into the software. They would get disqualified if they didn't meet certain criteria. And this is the little secret that my 100 out of 10,000 or 200 out of 10,000 rock stars know. I was talking to a company about a $600, probably $800 million telephone manufacturer. They use our leads from time to time, other lead sources, and I was shocked when they told me their conversion rate was only 1.25%. Shocked. The reason I was shocked was I've got plenty of customers who sell similar products and convert 5%, 10%, 15%. And I know that they have a very short fuse. They have, part of their policy is, if you get that person, if that person doesn't call you back, if you don't get in touch with them, within 4 attempts, the system automatically disqualifies the lead. Well, how does that square up with the fact that today it takes 5 to 10 attempts to get somebody on the phone? One of my biggest deals from last year came in as a lead from our website. It took me 15 attempts to get the person on the phone. 15. Prospect had reached out to us. A couple days later, went away on vacation, was really busy, came back, was really busy. He said, Larry, you're the only one that kept in touch. You've got the deal. It's like, I'm impressed with your follow-up. I wish my sales reps did that. So the rock stars, in terms of lead nurturing, have fundamentally changed their approach in the successful companies. And what's funny is the Harvard Business Review came out with this article, The End of Solution Selling, and they say that the traditional reps are at a disadvantage in this marketplace because of this one-and-done, bull-in-a-china shop approach. You've got 5 seconds to qualify. You have to go to our website and fill out a form. Otherwise, we won't talk to you kind of approach. And the Harvard Business Review went on to say that the top 3 or 5% of performers have fundamentally changed their approach, that they're looking for companies who are in a state of flux and have not yet established an RFP. Well, the funny thing is, Harvard Business Review, is that my rock stars have been doing this for 25 years and have been dominating the marketplace, have been making the competition irrelevant. So with lead nurturing, what we're seeing by working with companies is anywhere from 25 to 300% increase in conversion rate. I can tell you right now it was, I don't know what to say, when you're on the phone with a customer who has, that they should be converting 500% to 1,000% more than they are. That's a little bit of a challenge for us. But this is the common thing. But there's a few things that you need to think about that you've got to do differently. Remember, you got to fundamentally change your approach. This requires companies, and the Harvard Business Review says this, finding companies that don't have an immediate need. I need to find companies who have a high probability in the future of needing, if you're a bank or a leasing company, will need funds. If you're a technology company, will need a new computer system or an upgraded computer system or new phones or furniture or moving services. You've got to find these companies before they actually realize that they need a mover or a furniture company or a telecom company or bank financing or printing services. They're looking for companies in a state of flux, which is companies that are growing, relocating, expanding, building new locations, and engage them early in the process. And again, before they even know themselves that they're going to be needing your services. And that brings us to engagement marketing. And let's talk about a rock star, Gail Goodman. How many of you are familiar with Constant Contact? Just put CC in the question bar if you've heard of Constant Contact. Gail Goodman is my most recent hero. If you think your business is competitive, there are new email marketing companies coming out every single month. It's pretty easy to start one of these. She is whooping the competition, and she believes in engagement marketing. In fact, she just wrote a book on engagement marketing. My marketing manager recently got an invitation to an event hosted by Constant Contact. I did not want to go. She asked me to go along. I said, listen, they're going to lock us in a room and try to sell us their services. When I got there, pleased to find out the speaker said, listen, there are 29 of us around the country. I'm not allowed to sell. I can't sell you anything. Don't call me to buy stuff from us. I'm here to help your business. And guess what? They delivered on that promise. I've been to 2 of these sessions, which, by the way, they're great to go to. And they don't try to sell you anything in that. So think about it. Gail's got 20 senior level folks. This person used to work at DuPont, very well spoken. What does it cost to have 20 guys like that, or guys and gals around the country giving free seminars every single day in person. You're probably looking at $2 million, $3 million a year, a gift that she's giving to people we had no qualifications to be there. We didn't fill out a form. We didn't say we were interested. We didn't say we were going to be buying email marketing. But she's grown that company from 30,000 to 500,000 clients in just the last 5 or 6 years. Great book. I've written an article on B2B engagement marketing. Hers is more retail-ish, so I've done sort of a conversion. We'll email out that article to you. But it works. Is it a short-term return on investment? Is it like you can spend $3 million today and get $30 million next week, next quarter, next year? No, it's a long-term play. And again, this is what my rock stars have been doing for many, many years. So find companies before they get to the internet. Give them something useful. Give them something for free. Maybe host a networking event. Take the long-term approach and give, and then earn their trust. This is all stuff my rock stars have been doing for 25 years before they could even spell. So let's talk about the business development process. This is something that the rock stars are sort of expert at. There's a lot of research out that says 50% of sales reps won't make goal this year, didn't make goal last year. For an InsightPRM nice golf shirt, can anyone tell me the number one reason that sales reps won't make goal this year? Number one reason sales reps and this is for outside sales, business to business, consultative sale, which I think everybody on the call is in that category. Anyone? Number one reason sales reps won't make goal this year. Prospecting and follow-up. I'm going to give it to this person. Congratulations. We'll get in touch with you and get that out to you. Number one reason, failure to set enough appointments, right? Your sales reps, your folks do not have problems from talking to, we talk to thousands of you folks each year. That's not the problem, getting enough appointments. So getting appointments requires you to actually talk to people. Now remember what we talked about, 66% of leads, those leads that need to be nurtured, currently 66% are ignored. So it's an opportunity to triple your business, your new business development. But it requires a 3 times increase in productivity because you've got a lot more people to follow up with. One of the things that we see in common is prospecting is a painful process. And what we see is, it takes 10 attempts to get somebody on the phone. An 8-second phone call takes 120 seconds to document in a CRM. They're all in different stages of the buying process like we talked about. And 66% don't want to be sold. So that's just a lot of extra heavy lifting for your inside sales team. And have we made it more difficult with CRMs? Again, it could take 120 seconds to document that 8-second phone call. We have some professional appointment setters that get paid by the appointment. These are folks that will convert 10%, 15%, 20% of our leads into appointments day after day after day. They're independent contractors, so they can use any software they want. Nearly all of them have abandoned CRMs and use paper because CRMs slow them down. And why is that? Well, again, it takes 8 seconds to document. 120 seconds to document that phone call. Well, guess what? There's a new class of software for lead management. It's been out for about 5 or 6 years. There's a couple of brands. This is a trend that you're going to see. It's not a CRM. They call it a CRM, but it's a fast CRM specifically designed to make the painful process of prospecting less painful. Lead management software is designed to help make that prospecting process much more efficient. Because to nurture leads without having to bring on more staff, you got to be able to process calls in less time. So with lead nurturing software, with ours and some of the others, it takes that process of documenting that 8-second or 10-second phone call down to anywhere from 25 seconds. In our system, it's down to 0. And it allows whomever is making the calls, if it's your sales reps, they're going to get, double, triple the number of calls in that period of time. It's specifically designed for lead management. There's a lot of good companies out there, and by design, it's 3 to 5 times more efficient. It's not a replacement for your CRM. These softwares will work with Salesforce or Goldmine or Act or TigerPaw or whatever you're working with. But the idea is, think about it. If some of the top contractors that we recommend to our clients, the ones that are getting unbelievable conversion rates, are refusing to use software that's given to them for free, maybe there's something to it. So CRMs are for customer relationship management. Awesome. Not so good for lead management. So the next thing I want to talk to, and again, as I said, these are the trends that we're seeing with the most successful companies. And how do you differentiate yourself? How do you make the competition irrelevant? I think storytelling is one of the most important things. It's the oldest form of communication. And today there's so many options for telling your story. I'll give you a quick example. One of our clients was a technology company, an MSP. We started working with them. They were doing about $1 million a year in sales, and their net profit was about 5% or about $50,000. We started working with them, and they developed a story. This isn't something we coached them on. We coached them on the inside sales process and some of the other things that we were talking about. But they took it to the next level, and they created a story for their business and why you should engage them. And they would literally start when they would get with the customer, they had a lead nurturing process. So they built trust over 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. One of their biggest deal, they actually nurtured that lead for 24 months. It turned out to be an account that was worth, I think, about $250,000 a year, recurring revenue. And they told me the only way they would have gotten that piece of business was by nurturing it over that period of time. When they finally got in front of the customer, they basically sat back and they were selling a very competitive marketplace in IT services, managed services. They would literally get to the customer and say, listen, I know you've talked to a lot of my competitors. I know you have an idea of how your system should be managed. But what I want you to do is just forget all of that. And I'm going to paint a picture that's going to look completely different than what you've been told. And I think at the end of this, if you think that that picture makes sense for you, then I think that we've got a reason to move forward. If that person was here today, if that guy Gary was here today, he would tell you that that is lead nurturing, and telling the story was the key to his success. Not only getting the customer, but getting the customer at a higher price. That company grew from $1 million with about 5% net to $6 million with 38% net profit. 38% net profit. We've talked to a lot of MSPs in that period of time, and I've yet to find any company with that kind of growth rate in about 6 or 7 years, and that level of profitability. And again, Gary was here today. He would tell you that one of the keys to his success and that level of profitability, and also delivering the quality of the service that he delivered to his customers, was also unparalleled. So I think that you should take control over the story that your team is communicating to your client base, to your customer base. It's just a great way to communicate and a great way to differentiate yourself. And today, man, you can do all kinds of things. You can interlace client testimonials, marketing. You've got videos, you've got YouTube, you've got founder stories, how-to videos, lots and lots of ways to really communicate your brand and the unique attributes of your company. A great book is Tell to Win by Peter Guber. I can tell you that one of the distinguishing factors between my rock stars, that 200 out of 10,000 companies that kill it at higher margins, is they all tell me they have a specific story that they communicate to every prospect and every customer that they deal with. Victims? Nope. The folks, the survivors in the middle tend to be very technocrats. They very, this is how we're going to do this, but they don't tell a story. One of the top distinguishing factors of the rock stars is they've all got a great story that they tell their prospects and customers. So, what are the keys to success? So these are my humble observations of the most successful small, medium, and Fortune 500 companies that we work with. Is you got to use LinkedIn first. Do not make that phone call without doing the research. Nurture your leads. Don't attack them. Do you have a lead nurturing program in place? Let's get a plan in place. Remember, think about this. If this is the only thing you walk away with today, this is an opportunity to triple the amount of new business you get. 66% of leads need to be nurtured. If you don't have a lead nurturing process, you're liable to alienate those potential customers. Engage customers in a state of flux. Lease expirations are awesome if you're selling telecom, if you're selling commercial real estate, banking, leasing. Companies that move need all kinds of stuff, but you got to find out those companies 6, 9, 12, 18, 24 months ahead of time. Listen, rock stars understand this very, very well. You got to set more appointments. It's going to cost you money to set appointments. You're going to have to pay possibly for inside sales. You got to buy leads. You got to have some way of generating steady stream of leads, and it takes a little bit more horsepower. One of the ways you can combat that is increase the productivity by using lead management software. They are called CRMs. We happen to call ours a PRM because we really think that it's important to delineate that. We're not the only game in town. There's lots of great companies out there with lead management program that's going to help your folks be much more efficient in managing those leads. And listen, do you have a story? I can tell you that every one of the 200 rock stars that I deal with have a really unique story that they consistently communicate to everybody that they come in contact with. So I'll open it up to questions now. I know that we're right at our time limit, but if you want to stay before you go, before I ask the questions, we've got a whole series of webinars. LinkedIn is next on May 1st with Bryn Tillman of Business Development University. Awesome webinar. You don't want to miss that. Appointment Setting 101. My God, we've had a flood of people sign up for its Appointment Setting 101. And then we've got a great speaker, again, from Business Development University, Lisa Peskin. Sales management. Man, it's a great webinar. So at this point, for those of you who have to scoot, thank you very much. If there's anyone who has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Otherwise, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time today. I hope you found it useful. please send me your comments or suggestions. You can reach me at larry@InsightPRM.com. That's larry@InsightPRM.com. So I'll open it up to questions. Here's a question. How far in advance should we start prospecting? Well, what I can tell you is every month we have companies or clients that call us up and say, thank you very much. I just closed one of the largest deals in my history. And the next thing that they typically say is, I've been working, it took me 6 months, 9 months just to get the appointment on this thing. This is from a lead I got 18 months ago, 24 months ago. So my suggestion to you is engage early. You never know who is going to wind up being your best prospect. But sometimes, especially for the larger deals, rarely do we get a phone call where someone says, hey, I got the lead 3 months ago. I set the appointment in a week, and I closed the largest deal in my career, 4 weeks later. The story is always the same. It's always the nurtured leads where they were told, we're not moving, we're not interested, 3 or 4 times, and then on the 4th follow-up, they finally said, we are moving, we are interested, come on out and give us a quote. Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. Again, suggestions, comments, Larry@InsightPRM. We really appreciate your time today. I hope you found this useful. Thank you.